Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick preview for the Google Nexus 9. This is the 9-inch replacement to the Google Nexus 10. Some incredible hardware, a price tag to match, much like the Nexus 6. That seems to be the new trend here, at least in the current crop of Nexus products. We're moving to really paying for that premium of getting great hardware and software with direct updates from Google. And it makes sense, frankly. If Google had to break us in with lower pricing, I understand. Of course, many fans won't be happy with it, but if at the end of the day we're getting the best experience we can for the money, then Google has done something right. And it looks like the Nexus 9 may be exactly one of those products. So let's talk about it. Of course, they've changed aspect ratios. They've changed the screen size. HTC is the manufacturer. And I like what they've done with the processor. You're definitely, at the very least, getting the most powerful chip, mobile chip that is, on the market. And that is already a bragging right. It is coming from one of my personal favorites, NVIDIA. So I'm happy to see the partnership is back in full force, especially with such enthusiasm. But let's start off with design. I mean, marketed as for movers and makers. And really it's about portability and the fact that, again, you will be getting all of your updates directly from Google. That means no, shortened product lifespan based on other manufacturers, LG, Samsung, whoever it may be, determining they need a new product for the next quarterly report. And that's not to say that Google isn't profit motive driven as well. They absolutely are. The difference here is that they have a little more at stake in making a premium brand for themselves, and that's what the pricing reflects here, as well as the actual components. And build quality is a big step up for the Nexus 9 from previous gens of Nexus products that generally were all plastic. So designed with you in mind, fit in your hand. Basically, they're telling you you've got a soft grip back like all Nexus products before it. So that's part of the familiarity that we've come to, I at least, really enjoy with Nexus devices. And then high quality construction. We now have, despite the reduced thin form factor of this device, you still have brushed metal sides, clean lines as they mentioned, and then unique color schemes. And you see we have 3 different color options. And really that should accommodate just about every user. Everything's been upgraded here top to bottom. This is easily the best Nexus device ever made. I could argue they could have gone a little higher on screen resolution, but really, considering it's a 9-inch display, I'm not going to feed a pixel density war that doesn't make sense unless the human eye can really see the difference, and that's where I'll leave that. In terms of the actual multimedia experience, they're letting you know an 8.9-inch screen is big enough to do everything, and I can tell you they're right. It's the 8-inch Windows machines are a little bit small. The 8-inch Android tablets definitely far better than 7 inches. But will I say they're making a shift towards Apple-esque type, not marketing, but determining what consumers want? Possibly, because they have changed aspect ratio and they got a lot closer to Apple's iPad screen size. But still, they are completely unique in what they've done here, top to bottom. But there's no question the polish on this device is what it's all about, much like the Nexus 6. You can see in terms of sound, again, boasting great audio. They know this is something people are tired of facing on Nexus devices, especially. Not necessarily the best performers when it comes to audio quality, something that we'd like to get out of any device that's all about multimedia, clearly. Powerful processor, and I mentioned this before, we're talking about the most powerful silicon, SoC out there. The Tegra K1 did hold that title until this was announced. So this latest chip from NVIDIA, this dual-core, brand new 64-bit Denver, is essentially the beginning of a whole new generation. I'm not going to get into that today because today's video isn't about that, but just know that if you buy the Nexus 9, one of the key ingredients is the fact that you're getting the most powerful mobile processor on the market. In terms of the actual RAM on board, that's yet another thing that this affects in terms of taking on the architecture and moving towards that 64-bit support. They also have a keyboard dock at launch, as you can see, different positions, gives you that clamshell feel, and it actually looks like not oddly in any way, the best accessory they could have ever made for a Nexus device. Now, hopefully this is going to be readily available, because that's been another big problem with basically every Nexus device to date, and I'm hoping Google has gotten it together on this, because quite frankly, the products they make are far too good and underrated in many instances not to get the accessories they deserve. But as you can see, pointing out, magnetically attached, fully responsive keyboard that allows you to work at different angles. Of course, it is sold separately. No pricing on that yet, as far as I know. But of course, pointing out Lollipop and the great improvements for multitasking this is going to bring. A whole new world, essentially, we'll be moving into. This isn't just an incremental update. Like any Nexus launch, there's a very good reason that we're getting that. I mean, they're pointing out essentially the change in notifications, the change in design of interface, and of course also better multitasking. So they'll take you through that whole tutorial. Now, in terms of the tech specs, I mentioned the 8.9-inch IPS LCD. Unfortunately, I wish they had gone with an AMOLED. And this is one of the reasons the Galaxy Tab S is still a favorite of mine. Yeah, the processor in the Galaxy Tab S 8.5 or 10.5 isn't going to come close to the performance here. But in real world, how many consumers need the most bleeding edge? Not many. In fact, since Apple sells so many tablets, you could argue at least half of the market doesn't. And I'm not saying that the processor in Apple tablets and phones aren't benchmarked very well. They do benchmark well. This kicks their ass. So keep that in mind. It's something to be aware of. This is one of those things where the NVIDIA chipset in here, Project Denver, it just rips apart the current A8 and the A8X. Since I haven't seen it benched against this yet, I'm not going to make any specific comparisons, but the whole point is Google has some serious bragging rights with this processor. Now, on that 6700 milliamp battery, expect to get a day's use. What does that mean? Probably what battery life has been like in the past, somewhere between 8 to 10 hours, depending on what you do with power-saving features. The camera, you've got an 8 megapixel rear cam. Of course, all the enhancements that you'll find with the Nexus 6 will be here, part of Lollipop stock. A 1.6 megapixel front-facing camera, which I think is, again, more than enough. Anything close to 2 megapixels is more than enough for video conferencing, and at least what a tablet should be doing in a selfie or video conferencing capacity. The processor, as I mentioned, really, this is where it's at. We've got a 64-bit K1 chip that's dual-core. Again, not the quad-core K1 found in the Shield tablet. And this is new architecture, which just outperforms everything. And that's why they're also pointing out when it comes to the GPU, you're getting the best mobile GPU on the market. The 192 core Kepler is employed just like with the Shield tablet. So from a gaming perspective, absolutely no compromise here. You're getting the best gaming tablet and the most powerful tablet on the market. So the best of both worlds, literally. And then the software coming directly from the horse's mouth, which is what you want in the world of Android, or anything for that matter. And then in terms of storage capacities, 16 or 32. Now the starting price is $399, so that is a pretty steep starting point for a device that used to be bigger. I mean, this is replacing the Nexus 10. Yes, the Nexus 10 used to start around there, but most consumers are going to say, I'm losing an inch of screen real estate, paying the same price just so I can get better build quality, better internals. Folks, yes, you are, and quite frankly, I agree. If Google is going to make a higher quality product with better everything, why not pay the premium? The screen resolution, I wish they would have gone a little higher res, but I think it's an acknowledgement of what is going to make this tablet, the whole experience, as fluid, if not more fluid, than even the iPad, the iOS experience, and that's what they're after. After all, isn't that what they've been after all along, to become the best, most polished mobile platform in the marketplace, and really become the Windows, the Microsoft of the mobile world, having every vendor want to manufacture on their platform, the complete opposite of what Apple has tried to do. So both the Nexus 6 and Nexus 9, even though this is a preview just for the 9, they really do represent that in every possible way. I mean, they've got RAM out the wazoo for mobile devices. They've got the best processors that the marketplace can possibly deliver. They've got the best balance of software that you can possibly get on the Android platform and arguably in the world. So a lot to like about this device, even though the price is steep. I mentioned this in my Nexus 6 preview as well. It's coming at the cost of actually getting far more premium products and doing so in actual premium design and materials. All Nexus products, let me remind you, in the past have been plastic. So we've made a shift here, both in the phone and tablet world from Google, Motorola for the phone, HTC here, and these are the steps I've kind of been waiting for Google to make in their own device manufacturing. Let's hope they get that keyboard accessory out on time. Of course, I will be covering this when it all launches. This is being previewed for a reason, because this will be one of the most powerful and desirable tablets through all of 2015 without a question. So let's just take a quick look at the specifications for the Nexus 9. Of course, you can see the size right here in the upper left, 425 grams, 436 for the LTE version. 3 different colors. You can go with the indigo black, lunar white, or sand. In terms of the battery, I mentioned 6700 milliamp, but let's talk about battery life. Wi-Fi browsing up to 9.5 hours, LTE an hour less, video playback back to 9.5, Wi-Fi standby up to 30 days, the same for LTE. In terms of the display, 8.9-inch IPS. I do wish it was AMOLED. I've mentioned this before, but still, you're getting a high-res piece of glass there, 2048 by 1536, so QXGA, 4:3 aspect ratio. Not sure how much I'm going to love that, but those of you who want to use this for e-reading, other sorts of documents, are going to enjoy that. Basically, for me, as an Android tablet user, this is a foreign realm, not something you traditionally see. So, the Nexus brand in the tablet world, especially since this is replacing the 10, taking a step in a different direction. Gorilla Glass 3, double tap to wake, something LG made very popular. That Tegra K1 Denver dual-core chip that, as I mentioned before, squashes every other mobile SoC on the market. And then you've got 192 Kepler core GPU that is going to give you the best gaming experience from any mobile device on the market other than the Shield tablet. 2 gigs of RAM, 16 or 32 gig internal storage options depending on your budget and what you actually need. Keep in mind, no storage expansion here. In terms of the LTE bands, you can see what it supports right there. Wireless 802.11 AC, not a surprise, dual band. NFC Bluetooth 4.1, 8 megapixel cam on the back, f2.4 rating on that lens, which is very impressive. Autofocus, LED flash. It doesn't have quite the same specs as the Nexus 6, but very close. 1.6 megapixel front-facing camera, also with the same aperture rating. In terms of sensors, of course, you've got a GPS chipset on board, ambient light sensor, gyroscope, accelerometer, a magnetometer, as well as in terms of ports and connectivities, you've got, or connections rather, you have a micro USB 2.0 connection, which does have high-speed charging, to my knowledge, 3.5 millimeter audio jack, as well as dual front-facing speakers, which of course HTC's boom sound is known for best-in-class performance. Dual microphones so that you can be heard properly, whether you're gaming, video conferencing, or just taking notes, memos, voice memos, or making calls, obviously, because this is a VoIP machine at heart as well. And then last but not least, the software, which I've mentioned, Android Lollipop version 5.0, bringing you a whole nother level of your entire experience when it comes to multitasking, your notification system, a variety of different things that really make Android what it is and just are going to improve upon what many of us are already enjoying on a daily basis. So a lot to like here. Again, $399 starting price. Do I think it's worth it? I think it's definitely going to be one of the most powerful and compelling tablets on the market. And with that price point, I think everyone needs to keep in mind that the Nexus brand has taken a firm step up. We're getting not only great hardware and great software with great software support, but now we're also getting premium materials, and we're paying a small premium for that. So yes, we did lose an inch from the Nexus 10, kept the same pricing structure, but the internals that we're getting here and build quality from HTC, I think will be far superior to the Nexus 10. And the Nexus 10 was a great tablet, so that says a lot about what I've come to expect from the brand new Nexus 9. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.